Gentlemen, this is what we are here about this morning. We are going to have different speakers speak about the challenges that we are facing in terms of urban waste management. We are going to discuss as a forum as to what solutions we can come up with to try and mitigate some of these issues. We are going to learn, we are going to discuss, we are going to put forward recommendations. Before we proceed any further, our restrooms, as you exit through the back entrance, someone will guide you to our restrooms for those who are not familiar with this venue. Without much further ado, I would like to call upon Mr. Zibusiso Dube, who is a research fellow with the Institute, and is going to give us objectives, main objectives of this caucus this morning. Z, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Zibusiso Dube, and I'm a research fellow at PPRIZ, like Norma has said. So I think the video has done much of the work of introducing what we are here for. We generally have a crisis in Zimbabwe when it comes to how we are managing our excuse me, how we are managing our waste in urban areas, which is manifesting itself in many different ways, including the piles of rubbish that we see in our streets, and many other cases that we're witnessing. I was reading a few days ago that there are instances where medical waste is being disposed illegally at the Richmond landfill. I've also seen headlines talking about how there are fires at the Richmond landfill that lead to toxic fumes engulfing residents in areas like Cowdrey Park, Luveve 5, Makandeni, that are in the close vicinity of those areas. Then there is also pollution of water bodies, streams, due to dumping of waste. So generally, we have a challenge in Zimbabwe and also in Bulawayo in how we are managing our solid waste. And this is a serious health crisis. It's a ticking bomb, which could lead to serious challenges going forward if nothing is done about it. So it is in that light that PPRIZ is hosting this policy discussion, which is running under the theme Towards Clean and Resilient Urban Areas, Building Inclusive and Sustainable Solid Waste Management in Zimbabwe. We've commissioned a research on that same topic that should be ready for publication in the next couple of weeks. But nonetheless, today we'll discuss some of the main issues that are emerging as we try to make to better understand these issues of solid waste management. So our objectives today are to enhance our understanding of challenges in solid waste management in urban areas in Zimbabwe and their implications for environmental health and the well-being of urban dwellers. We need to really understand the problem very well if we are to address it in a meaningful way. And then the conference will also provide a platform for stakeholders in this room to explore solutions for solid urban waste challenges faced in the country, and also learning from what is being done in other areas, in other countries. And then also we'll identify policy gaps in urban solid waste management and try to plug those gaps through recommendations and solutions. This event is part of a program at PPRIZ that we call the Strengthening Policy Engagement Through Evidence and Dialogue project, which is SPEED in short. The project basically aims to promote evidence-based policy making and to foster collaboration between different stakeholders to enhance policy development and implementation. The project also seeks to enhance the responsiveness of policies and policy processes to the needs of underrepresented groups in our communities. So this is the second in a series of these policy discussions that we've been holding. Some of you are aware that earlier this month we had a similar conference at the Rainbow Hotel where we were discussing procurement in local government. So this time we're focusing on this crucial challenge of urban solid waste management and hoping that together we can put our heads together and help find solutions to this pressing challenge. So that's our objective for today. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dube. Now that we've heard the objectives for today, ladies and gentlemen, on your tables, we have a pre-evaluation form. It's written, thank you for participating in our solid waste management policy discussion. Your input is valuable to us. Please take a few minutes to complete this pre-evaluation form. There's a pre and there's a post. Have we all seen the pre-evaluation form? Okay, so please can we just take a few minutes? We've heard the objectives of this discussion today. So in order that we measure at the end of the activity today, how well we've done or what gaps we have or what all other topics needs to be done, please can you kindly just complete this, just 2 minutes of your time, please. You don't need to put your name. It's strictly anonymous. It's just for us to get a feel of the information that's out there. I'm sure the questions and points, they are straightforward. Just short answers. I'm sure we are almost done. All right, ladies and gentlemen, on our program, we've got a couple of changes that we'd like to make mention of. But right now, I'd like to call upon Ms. Nora Mapunza. Nora Mapunza is representing Minister of Provincial Affairs and Devolution, Mrs. Judith Ncube. May I call upon Ms. Nora Mapunza to please come up and give us our opening remarks. Thank you.
Good morning to you all. Good morning to you all. Thank you, Director of Ceremonies, for according me this opportunity to deliver Honorable Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolutions remarks, Honorable J.M. Ncube. Allow me to recognize the Director of Ceremonies, the board chairperson of the Public Policy and Research Institute of Zimbabwe, Professor Renford Kumalo in absentia, the executive director of Public Policy Research Institute of Zimbabwe, Dr. Gordon Moyo, who is going to join us shortly, members of parliament, if there are any here present, heads of government ministries, departments, agencies here present, or government officials here present, representatives from the environmental management agents, representatives of local authorities, business community, civil society organizations, academics and development practitioners, media fraternity, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to be with you today to deliver the opening remarks as this timely conference running under the theme towards clean and resilient urban areas, building inclusive and sustainable solid waste management in Zimbabwe. This is an important conference that seeks to enhance our understanding of the challenges faced in solid waste management in urban areas and to find possible solutions. Urban areas in Zimbabwe have been facing numerous challenges in solid waste management. These challenges stem from factors such as growing urban populations due to rural to urban migration, funding difficulties faced by local authorities, and limited capacity, especially regarding recycling and electronic waste management. We are gathered here today to explore these challenges and find ways to address them to ensure more sustainable waste management that contributes to Zimbabwe's development in line with the 2030 agenda. Effective solid waste management is crucial to our well-being and development as a society. It is central to protecting our environment, ensuring public health, and with innovation can serve as a tool for economic development and employment creation. In this context, the government has prioritized solid waste management as evidenced by efforts such as engaging in public-private partnerships to improve solid waste management in urban areas. These models demonstrate that waste can be converted into energy, which is vital as the nation seeks safer and environmentally friendly options for power generation. The important discussion on urban solid waste management comes at a time when waste management issues have garnered significant attention. Residents in areas including Cowrie Park, Richmond, and Emakhandeni have raised concerns over fires at Richmond landfill that produce toxic fumes. Reports of illegal dumping of medical waste at the landfill have also emerged. Additional challenges include increased waste production in the central business district, particularly at vending sites and sanitary lands. All these developments pose health hazards and must be addressed promptly to restore Bulawayo's status as one of the cleanest cities, not only in Zimbabwe, but across Africa and beyond. His Excellency, President Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, last month presided over the council's Indaba and launched the minimum service delivery standards for local authorities in Zimbabwe. He expressed the concerns about shortfalls in service delivery in urban areas. The challenges faced in urban solid waste management are therefore a matter of national concern. The government is working with local authorities and other stakeholders to explore solutions. However, citizens also have a role to play by handling their waste responsibly. This requires awareness raising and civic education. This conference provides an option platform for various stakeholders to propose solutions to these challenges. The government recommends PPRIZ commends PPRIZ for organizing this important conference to address the challenges faced in solid waste management by local authorities. The issue I have mentioned earlier are ticking time bomb and could lead to serious health and environmental problems if not urgently addressed. This conference offers a platform to finding solutions. PPRIZ has commissioned a research study on urban solid waste management, which will be presented today. I commend PPRIZ for providing evidence on these critical service delivery and policy issues. Such evidence can assist the government and local authorities in making better decisions. As I officially open this conference, I urge candid and open discussions driven by a shared purpose to improve urban solid waste management in Zimbabwe. We all have a role to play in promoting development in our country. On this note, I hereby declare the Conference on Solid Waste Management in Urban Areas open. Thank you, Siyabonga Tatenda.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mopanza. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to proceed. We are going to have our first presentation from Mrs. Livet Ncube, who is an urban solid waste management expert. So Mrs. Ncube is going to give a presentation, and then we are going to have plenary when she is done. Mrs. Ncube, kindly come up. Thank you so much.
Morning, everyone. I'm honored to participate in this policy-making move towards the management of solid waste in Zimbabwe, in particular here in Bulawayo. I think we will all agree that despite us waking up every day, bathing, and making sure we eat nice food, during that process, we create waste. And that waste has to be disposed at some point. And it's the same waste that is causing a havoc around us. If we look around, in this room, it might appear very clean, but move out, believe you me, you will not wish to stay out for so long. So as you can see my first slide there, it clearly shows that my own move towards this solid waste management is actually based on waste segregation. And why waste segregation? It's because I think it might be a better solution for us towards zero waste production. Next slide. So the definition for solid waste, that is my own definition, that it's any discarded material, including solids or semi-solid. Like I have already alluded, that we create waste no matter where we are. And that waste, we call it waste because it's no longer needed or wanted by us, the generator. Next slide. The types of solid waste. In most instances, we view waste as maybe something that is going to look very dirty and nasty. Yet, some of the waste that we are producing really will be looking very nice. But at the end of the day, it's waste that needs to be disposed of. So what type of waste are we looking at? We are looking at the construction and demolition debris. We are doing a lot of construction around the country. Believe you me, because of the increase in population, there is a lot of buildings that are erupting either next door or down the road. But what then is the problem? Is the problem to do with the increase in population because we are constructing? I don't think so. But the problem is lack of planning of how we are going to dispose the waste that comes out of the construction and the demolition debris. More often than not, we bring a lot of things together to build this so nice building, but do we even plan on how to dispose the waste? Because that is waste that we are generating to build a nice thing. So that is the beginning of some of our problems. Then we've got the agricultural waste, giving honor to this stomach that needs to eat on daily basis. As we are sitting right here, I can see orange juice. Definitely it's coming from the agriculture. And what happened to those orange peels that were peeled for us to come up with this juice? Those orange peels have to be discarded because we don't want them. Then there is the industrial or commercial waste. We want to continue growing as a nation. Hence, we produce a lot of waste, be it in the name of the clothing industry, be it in the name of the products that we are producing, be it milk or whatever. But at the end of the day, the process requires that the end product will not only be the product that we require, but we produce waste along the way. Then we have the regulated medical waste. I heard my fellow previous speaker talked about the medical waste that is being seen dumped at Richmond. As we fall sick, we require medication, and that medication expires at some point. It's not all of it that we consume. It expires at some point and it's rendered as waste. The bandages that we use to cover the wounds, it needs to be disposed. But the problem is how and where do we dispose of these? Then there is the municipal solid waste. This in particular is the waste that we produce at our homes. In the process of making nice food or cleaning our houses, we produce the municipal solid waste. Then all these types of waste needs to be disposed of. As you saw the previous, I think those were the initial slides. We saw all those types of waste, those nasty pictures that we saw. It's actually a combination of those types of waste. But we need to come up with a policy that will make sure that we eradicate that type of waste. And it's a policy that needs to have a mission statement and an action plan along the way. Because for you to plan to go to Harare, you need to have an action plan. How am I going there? What mode of transport? So same with our solid waste, we need an action plan. And that action plan should have smart objectives of how and what do we hope to achieve by when. Next slide. What has been the impact of solid waste on the environment? There is air pollution, courtesy to the landfill that we so love, but at the same time, we are not managing it very well. There are a lot of pollutants coming from that landfill, and it's not only affecting the Ngoz mine residents. Go to Country Park, I think they are already complaining about the same issues. And due to that, the water has been contaminated. And coming from a health background, there are a lot of cases that are coming as a result of the contaminated water. And that contaminated water, how are we contaminating it? Remember from the previous slide, I looked at a lot of types of waste. And sooner or later, we are approaching the rainy season. And all that waste that has been dumped elsewhere is going to be washed to where? To our water sources. That's how our water is going to be contaminated, or it's already contaminated. Then we have the health risks. Courtesy to the air pollution, we have the respiratory tract infections, and courtesy to the water contamination, the diarrheal conditions. And believe you me, the hospitals, they capture all the data to say we've got so many cases coming from Country Park, coming from Pumula South, with solid waste related health conditions. But does it have to end there in us recording those cases? No, we need to make a move because we are not going to be waiting for results, then we move towards treatment. But we need to move towards the prevention, not the cure, because the cure requires more resources than the prevention. Then we have the marine pollution, and believe you me, some of us, we buy the fish and we love them so much, yet they are already contaminated. Then we have the soil degradation, because from Ngoz mine, it's not only the air that is being polluted, even the liquid that is coming from that Richmond, it actually seeps through the soil. And most of us, we have started digging boreholes, and believe you me, most of those boreholes are really contaminated. Next slide. How then do we wish to reduce the waste or do away with the waste that we've been producing? We have the 5 R's, that is the reduction of waste. It's not a mistake that the population is increasing. By God's grace, we need to increase, and for a reason. But at the same time, we need to reduce the amount of waste that we are producing. But how then are we going to reduce the amount of waste? We need to come up with strategies like we need to start reusing. Remember, for instance, I'll talk about the agricultural waste or the municipal solid waste, which also has the organic waste in it. Organic waste, which is the type of waste that we can actually reuse. It's not all of it that has to be taken to this disposal site. We can actually compost that solid waste, the organic waste, because believe you me, the organic waste is actually a resource. It's not all of it that has to be dumped. We compost. If we go to the, like I come from Pumula, there are a lot of people that are farming there. Some of them, they grow vegetables. But do you have to buy the fertilizer, yet you are producing so much of that organic waste? Why not have those composts around us? The sadza that we eat every day, we can actually dig a hole, put that sadza there. In few months, that will be a compost that I can actually put in my garden. Then the refuse part, how are we supposed to refuse? We need to stand and refuse accepting these things that we're actually importing in our country, that are already rendered as waste from other countries. But us, we see them as gold, and we take everything that comes to us. And not just that, some they come in the form of food, but that food is in a container, and the container is in the form of plastic. We need to stand down and have policies which are going to refuse to be taken in. Our border posts, our ports, they need to be very effective. We have policies in place, but these policies are not being implemented. There is nothing wrong with the policy, but the policy is on paper and we are not implementing it. Because believe you me, if we start implementing what we have agreed on, we will refuse using plastics as our containers, because really we can't reuse them. We need to find a way of disposing them. The so-called pampers, you know, I for one, my firstborn, I never used pampers. They were not there. We're using napkins. Pampers, they are so nice to talk about, but method of disposal, that one, it will give you a headache. You can neither burn it nor dump it. You dump, it will never rot. You burn, it does not burn. I work at a hospital. You incinerate a pamper. It will just come out as one solid, nice brick. It will never burn to ashes. So those are some of the issues, types of solid waste that we need to refuse as a nation to use. Then recycling. We produce a lot of things that can be recycled. But the problem is, how are we going to recycle combined waste? It stems from the source of generation, from my household. Do I even segregate the waste that I'm producing? If I'm going to mix the sadza, the bottle that had some medication, the plastic bottle from PEPs, and combine all those things, do I hope for recycling to take place, and at what level? That's where we have failed. I really believe waste segregation should start from our household, move to the industries, then be adopted as part of the policy, that we are waste segregation, and waste segregation should not just be on paper, it needs to be visible. As you are moving down the streets, we should not just see dusty bins that do not make sense. We should see dusty bins that are communicating with us to say, put a plastic container here, put organic matter here, so that at the end of the day, organic waste can be taken for composting, the plastics can be taken for recycling, and we have reduced the amount of waste that will end up at the landfill. Then we have repurposing. One man's meat becoming one man's poison. It's not everything that has been condemned by someone that is not required by the person next door. I always say we have a lot of things that we think we no longer need. But why are we having a hoarding syndrome to keep those things? Yet another person can actually reuse them or repurpose. At a hospital, I'll give you an example. Those who have been admitted before, you have seen, and the layman, they call it drip. It drip. But is it everything about that drip that should end up as waste? No. Those containers, we can actually use them as our flower vase, or we can actually use them as a point of irrigation. You see, at the flowers that we grow around our homes or whatsoever, they need to be watered. But there is a method to it. If you find more knowledge from those that are in the industry of growing those flowers, they will tell you there is a method of watering. It's not just by taking a bucket and pouring it. You need to water it, but gradual. So that same drip can actually serve the same purpose. You water it, but gradual, using that same container that has been used. So that is repurposing. Next slide. We have a lot of challenges, my brothers and sisters, to do with waste management. What we are seeing there is a mode of transport that is being used to ferry waste from the point of generation, that is our household, and its hope is to get to Richmond. But do you see the type of truck? Unfortunately, that pic, I think, was not taken at close range. That is an open truck. And what you are seeing by the road is the litter that is falling off that same truck along the way. How then can we correct that? We need to do what is called the waste tracking. Waste needs to be tracked from the source of generation up to the point of disposal. If waste has left my home, the municipality needs to have a way of tracking such that my waste, if it reaches Richmond, they can be able to see that this particular waste came from Pumula South, room number so and so. For responsibility purposes. Because we have a tendency of mixing the type of waste that is not supposed to reach Richmond. So if we practice waste tracking, we will not end up with that. And believe you me, even our city fathers will take responsibility to find proper transportation for this type of waste. Next slide. That is a nice site that has decorated the city. If you look there closely, you will see that there is a lot of burning that goes around. Why are we burning? My proposal, we have, you see the waste skippers. We can have those decorating everywhere around the city, including the residential areas. So that in the event that there is delay in the collection of waste, we have a designated place where you can take your waste and put inside those skippers. And at least that way we have controlled the spillovers. But if there is no monitoring taking place, it means if I miss the transporters of waste, then overnight, I'm going to tiptoe to a nearby bush with my black paper packet and burn. And that is the result. And believe you me, we end up with health hazards. We are polluting even the air, even that particular soil, because that area is not designated for waste dumping. It's actually someone else's stand. In the near future, someone else would want to build a nice house there, but that soil has already been contaminated. Next slide. Some of the challenges that we have are the poor segregation. I think I've talked about that one. That even around our city, there is no waste segregation. We have bins that do not make sense. It's nice to have them, but are they serving a purpose? I don't think so. Because it's like we are encouraging people to actually mix the waste. But I have seen there are areas where waste segregation is being practiced. So we can actually adopt that. Segregate our waste even around town. Have 3 types of bins at an area. Even the location of our shops. You find that there is a restaurant here. Next to a restaurant, there is a shop that is selling televisions and them. Are they producing the same type of waste? No. Where do we hope that they dump their waste? In one bin. And that has been a challenge. And that is the source of our problem. Then we have the health challenges. I think I have already talked about those ones, where already we are struggling as an economy to take care of our sick relatives. There are no drugs. Go to hospital, there are no drugs. It's not a lie or whatever. We are not sugarcoating anything. They are not there. So you get to a hospital, what you are going to see is a nurse and a doctor and a building and a nice bed. But the rest you will have to buy. So why then, as an economy, since we are already aware that we are struggling as an economy, why create another health hazard? So let's reduce this waste, take care of our fellow brothers, stay away from the dumping of waste, then we'll do away with the health challenges. Then also we have the increased waste management cost. Believe you me, the city fathers are struggling to manage this waste. They don't even have the transport. Even worse still, the ways of disposing of that waste, it's at a cost. But if we reduce, the cost will also go down. So we can only reduce, we start at the point of generation, because management of waste, we start with point of generation, we move on to storage, transportation, then disposal. But we'll rather end up with a cup that needs to be disposed than a whole room that needs to be disposed. Next slide. We're done. But I think my take-home message is, let's segregate our waste so as to move to a sustainable economy that will have zero waste. Any questions or additions? Yes, my sister.
Mine is not a question, but to agree, I do work with Ngozi Mine and the populace that is there, and trust me, it's as bad as she's saying. But also to say that the banning is not at Ngozi Mine alone. I know that there are households where we deliberately know what is achieved. Noma, I come from Kwekwe. And Ekwekwe, they don't have refuse collection as frequently as it's supposed to be. And you hear them say, "Hi, very chinongo pizza." And now, after the presentation, you get to think to say, okay, so how really are we managing our waste? When we have excess pills or medication, we throw it down the drain. But what is that doing to our water and thus our health? And also, I wanted to emphasize on the point of pampers and pads. We don't know how to dispose of those, and because we don't know, they are increasing our drug and substance abuse. For those who don't know, those Nyaope guys will take pampers and they'll tell you the ones that are used, even pads, they make us intoxicated to the stage that we want. I work with the community of people that are internally displaced in and around town. So when we talk to them and ask them, you are high, how do you get the money to get high? Where are you getting the money? They'll tell you, no, sister, pads. So when it comes to it, we really need to give an appreciation to the presentation to say, let's rethink, even at an individual level, to say, I've used my pad, I've used my papa, how am I disposing of it, such that it does not affect the health of the next person, or even mine, because what goes around comes around. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yoli. Can we take a couple of, maybe let's take a round of 5 questions, and then we'll get Mrs. Mule to respond. Mr. Chivea, Mr. Nare, the young lady over there, that's 3, Mr. Maposa, 4. Yeah. I think maybe let's just do quick questions and comments, and then we'll give Mrs. Mule to respond.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. Maybe I want to start by saying, in terms of us having a proper solid waste management, at least as Bulawayo or as Zimbabwe at large, we have a good starting point, especially as Bulawayo. I'm sure the representative of the resident minister said Bulawayo was once at one point, it was the cleanest city, not only in Africa, but in the world. So the starting point that we have is to ask ourselves that what was being done correctly when Bulawayo was being seen as the cleanest city in the world. And how are we doing things now? The fact that the population is growing cannot be used as an excuse to say that is the reason that we are supposed to have a litter all over the place. To me, the problem is not the population, but the problem is the governance of the country itself that has put litter all over the place. Because if we were growing with the systems that made us the cleanest city also growing, why could we be seeing all this litter? So it is a governance crisis in as far as I'm concerned. Even if you look at the tendering for garbage collection, the vehicles themselves, and the video showed the litter, they collected the litter, it can be treated all the way. The vehicles themselves are actually a hazard. They are garbage in themselves, which also speaks to the same issues of governance. So that is and I heard the presenter talking about issues of waste segregation. There is a need to strengthen the bylaws that we have, the bylaws that made us the cleanest city. I'm sure they are still there, and they can be strengthened. Kates we have a restaurant, we have a restaurant, a barber shop in the same, within the same city corner, not same street. Partition, that was something that was health inspector. Where is that going to? Are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. And then it goes mine to my Mumbonoami. Those people can also be turned into there is production also going on in Ngozimai, by the way. plastic things are turned into some things that can be sold. So in my view, I think I would think those people can be regularized. Kube industry of some sort of a policy which can support formation of an industry which can help those people regularize that production. It can also help in absorbing the plastic waste, especially. So I think maybe for now, let me stop here, but I don't want to blame the populace. I want to blame governance. Akubuye imoto lezani zakomabhingu vele ezidalelwe khona. It will also minimize, and even the frequency of garbage collection, I think it's a cause of concern.
Once a week, your Makoba started 3 times. There is congested Makoba 3 times a week. Wednesday and Thursday once a week. The budget once a week.
They are going to put our systems in place. Let's revisit. Let's go back to the basics.
Thank you, Mr. Chiveya. I think you're so right, because when we were growing up, you talk about the cars for refuse collection. We used to sing "Umas Pepe," because like we used to see them every week, and every household had those metal bins, you know, and we knew exactly when the rubbish collection would be done. Just a quick one, Mr. Maposa. You deal a lot with waste management. You can go ahead with your question and comments.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think thank you, ma'am, for the presentation. I think we don't have a waste crisis. We don't have it. We have never had it, and we will never have a waste crisis. I think Zimbabweans and Africans stop this. Sorry to use the term. I know it's a bit unprofessional, but stop this nonsense that when you fail something, you turn it into a crisis. When you fail to provide water, you say there is a water crisis. When you fail to provide housing, you say there is a housing crisis. When you fail to manage the economy, you say there is an economic crisis. When you fail to manage diseases, you say there is a disease crisis. When you fail to manage waste, you say there is a waste crisis. The only crisis that is there is us. We are the crisis of the time. We don't even know what we want to do. I get worried by people who use reduce waste and recycle waste in the same sentence. You say reduce waste as Africans, especially as Zimbabweans. Then we say, no, let's promote waste circular economy. So how do you have waste circular economy when you reduce waste because you need that waste to drive that economy? So it's like we are confused. We are not sure what really we want. I think what we want, number one, is let's be clear with what we want. Let's be clear with what we want to achieve as Zimbabwe. Waste is an opportunity that we have. Let's grab that opportunity. For one, I say people should produce more waste. Produce as much waste as you want. Buy something, break it down before end of the day, put it in the bin there, separate it. We want it, we'll recycle it, we'll make more money from it. We don't want these things that are like German products that last for over 40 years. No. Lifespan of things should be less than a month or a year so that we get more of it and the West circular economy can be driven. Currently in Africa, the West circular economy is worth $8 billion and can create 400,000 jobs. We need those jobs. We need that money. Then I will also comment on the issue of Ngosmai. I think that's Ngosmai stereotyping. And I think it's unfair. Let's stop that. Let's not talk from points of privilege and always say, the Ngosmai people are burning waste, the Ngosmai people are burning waste. Do you honestly think that these gentlemen, because they are working these cameras, they can ban them? They will be fools. If they just wake up in the morning, go to the office, take that camera and crash it on the floor, they will be jobless the next day. The people of Ngo's mine cannot ban that site because they want plastic and paper in that site. When they ban it, where do they get their income? Ngo's mine is banning because we have not managed that landfill site properly. That's number one. We have not been backfilling that landfill site of late. Recently we did it, but for years, we have not been doing that. There is a time when every weekend, council will come and compact that landfill site. And if we will be honest, how many years it has not been happening? We have not been compacting that landfill site for a long period of time. And how do we compact it? We compact it by banning it. And let's be honest with that. Then the last thing I will say with Ngo's mine is, I think we don't advocate for people to stay at Ngo's mine, because we are not evil to say people should stay in those conditions, but we advocate for people to work at Ngo's mine, right? Because that's a working site. And secondly, there is the issue of waste picker integration. Why is Bulawayo? I have asked this question to His Worship the Mayor of Bulawayo on Twitter, and I've sent him emails. He's not responding to me. Why is Bulawayo having a phobia for integrating waste pickers? We have a database of over 800 solid waste pickers in the city, picking waste on a daily basis, making an income on a daily basis. And we're saying simple thing, integrate them and let them do what Mem was talking about here for free for you. Council does not need to spend the money that they are spending collecting waste ngaboma bhimu when kulaboma bhimu abafuna ukulenzela mahara. But what do we want? We want to start a utility company on waste because it is more convenient, because our models are pro-Western models. Our models are models that are designed around IMF and World Bank. But we don't have a people-centric model that will take those women and men out of poverty, give them a livelihood, and then we manage. We have even proposed a model for waste separation at household level. Household level, we can do waste separation without the many bins that we always talk about. Just with 2 bags, we can do waste separation at household level. They come and collect all that waste. They want it. They want to use it. But what happens? They are not listened because they are ordinary people. We are sitting in our offices of privilege and comfort, and we see them as a nuisance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maposa. I think Mr. Chive and Mr. Maposa are hitting on the same line there somewhere. So maybe, Z, we need to look at that and maybe pay a visit to Ngo's mine. I think we really need to do that. Mr. Nare, you had a comment and question?
Thank you so much. Yes, I had a question to Mrs. Mube pertaining to waste pickers. To say, you were saying there is need to increase waste pickers, but looking at the city of Bulawayo that has constantly been raising issues concerning their limited funding and revenue. So my question is, how best can funding or money be generated from solid waste to support waste pickers, since your assertion is that there is need to increase the waste pickers that are the city has already sort of employed them on a temporary basis. But in terms of numbers, they are very limited and they are already covering quite large areas as they pick waste. So now if we are to make a proposal to say increase the waste pickers, there is need to then also be able to come up with a funding model to support the waste pickers that are primarily employed by the city of Milan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nare. I think Mr. Maposa said we have 800 registered waste pickers. Is that correct, Mr. Maposa? Right, that's what I wanted us to clarify, because I know we've got a differentiation there.
Yes, the council community pickers are employed by council, but these that we are talking are individuals who are just picking waste to make a living.
All right, thank you for that. We had a hand up from the young lady there, back there.
All right, thank you for the opportunity. Into ndifuna ukukhuluma ukuthi Maphosa seyikhulumile, but I can add on. Into ndifuna ukukhuluma ukuthi I think thina ezidlawayo maybe as a community asika-accept kulabantu abasincedisa ukupick waste ngoba kule segregation abantu bayadiscriminatewa. Yasinezingane ngabantu abahlanya, but they're making a living out of that waste. So I think thina that we need to be educated sibekwazi ukuthi when it comes to waste picking kwenzakalani. Lanxa lathi sesiyenza uzothi separation endlini sibekwazi kulabantu abazabe ukupick waste leyana. So we need education. Lama bylaws lawo abe conducive for those people. Ngoba imisebenzi ayikho kumele sikhulume iqiniso. These people are making a living, they're sending their children to school ngemali yona leyo. So let's change our mindset as our community work towards supporting these waste pickers. Because very many waste. I've seen groups who are making a living from waste. The Chinese companies, they are recycling waste. So we need to promote these things, encourage the whole community as Lawai. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that's very important. Mrs. Nube spoke about segregation of waste. We have people from different sectors. Ma'am Samson. Mrs. Samson is a lady mechanic. So I'm curious, in your workshop, how do you dispose of your mechanical stuff? Because she spoke about e-waste and metal waste and so on. So in your industry, how do you then dispose of the waste?
Okay, thank you very much. In my workshop, all fold aluminium space is for marbled aluminium pots. Then use the oil, we drain it on basins. The oil is used on kettles. It's income for someone. Then my pot is also income for someone. Then other space are being sold as scrap yards. I thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, Mrs. Nube, further comments from questions and comments that went round?
Thank you. I'll talk about the burning at the Ngozi mine. Really, it's painful to note that people don't know that we are reason behind those fires. If you contaminate the waste that is going to the landfill with organic waste, it produces methane. And that methane is what is flying around the Ngozi mine. It's highly flammable. So, we are light. So that's how we are burning that place. I see what Ngozi mine. I will agree with Mr. You said it's Nare, right? Maposa. I will agree with Mr. Maposa. It's not intentional. Then I'll move on to the waste pickers. These people want to make a living, but we are making it hard for them. The waste that we are combining that I was talking about, if you have visited Ngozi mine, you'll agree with me. Do you know, via mapans, imota ingagada phezulu, ibisichitha, ichithela phezu kwawo, and that is a health hazard on its own. We want them to do waste segregation at the disposal site, which is very bad. But if we practice waste segregation at our households, then these guys can now come and collect. Bayabhoda bakolekte izigubhu zenezi ezamanzi singafaka eplastikini bayadlula bethi izigubhu ngikhiphele phandle bathathe bahambe. That is making a living for someone rather than creating a health hazard by contaminating this water bottle, ebese siyayimelela eNgozimane. Then the other issue that I wanted to talk about was ubaba lapha ukhulume nge-restaurant le barber shop under the same roof. That's what I was talking about, to say we have legislature, but it's not being implemented. There was a time when really public health officers would even move around and condemn. We can't have a restaurant here, there is a barber shop next door. Because on its own, I agree with Baba Maposa, we want to create jobs by this waste, but it will not create jobs if we are combining it, if we are contaminating the same waste. But we can have a secular economy in clean waste. Thank you.
I totally agree with that, Mamncube, because as you are saying, if you're going to recycle the waste, you'd rather have a heap, instead of them rummaging through a variety of waste. I think Councillor Mabeza or Mr. Swindi wanted to make a comment regards that, in response to that comment from Council.
Okay, on my side, I wanted to speak on Ngozimane. We are not accusing anyone at this point of time. But I remember as council when we went to Ngozimane, there are families at Ngozimane. There are plastic houses at Ngozimane. There are kids growing there at Ngozimane. This is what we saw when we got there. So I can only agree, Ngoguti, the fires are not intentional. Because we had when we got there, we had a situation whereby in those tents, and their parents, trying to get something out of it. So I would not agree because they are families at Ngozimane. They are kids growing at Ngozimane. And obvious abala magetsi basebenzisa into abazithola khona lapho ukuthi bapheke and stuff. I can only agree ngokuthi the fires are not intentional. Ngoba they won't be knowing ukuthi the waste is contaminated ngabo methane and anything small can actually bring out something big. I thank you.
I totally agree with that. Mr. Swindi, would you like to say something? Mr. Swindi is from City Council Cleansing Department.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'll speak to, I think my sister here talked about the issue of designated points. If I heard it correctly, I think she was pushing an idea that at least there must be points where we put the skip bins or designated points where people can put their waste. Did I get you right? Yes. Okay. I just want to comment on that. I think those who were there some 10, 15 years back, that was tried by council with designated points in almost all the suburban areas. But we quickly stopped that exercise simply because people were abusing that. Abantu babevuka every day, sebelahla amangoya abafileyo, labantwana aba-aborted. So we quickly stopped that. So I'm saying that idea, if we were civilized to a high level, we could adopt it. But for now, it won't work. Look what's happening now. Designated points, community trackers, they collect today, but go there tomorrow. So far, is already. Is files they collect next week. They are not to talk about. Some people are seeing those points as designated areas. Whilst they are not, they're just collecting points. I think the issue in Jobukan State, we're not blaming anybody, but the issue I think is education. They need to be, first of all, be educated and understand exactly what's happening. Because at the moment, it's really a shock. And I'll comment on the issue of the one. I think those who know, he cancelled their flight attendant cancelled on more than 2 occasions. It's about way forward so the Batalism. We were trying, attendant was calling for the right trucks to carry waste. Our takers. As such, because the idea was you can't just, if you fail on plan A, try plan B. That's what will happen. But those lorries, in terms of waste management policies worldwide, those laws are not supposed to be. But because of the situations, and to some extent, ziyanceda. Sesitshana amaqiniso. Emalokishini lapha every week siyathwala, ziyanqa zihamba zidamba here and there. Then I'll also comment on the issue of waste pickers. As long as they are not formalized, it's still a big problem. Why? Go to the eastern area, for instance. Ubone onjenganamhla, today is what? Today is Thursday. Hamba lapho bantu abathola kuyathwala izinto. Uyathola ezinye izinto zingasekho ngama waste pickers. Uyafika phambi say the whole bin not even one ban angene egangeni. Afika empty. Adinga udingayo achiye khona pha. So ama-dumpings amaningi, they are caused by these waste pickers. As long as they are not formalized, we are not solving our problems. I go for them. It's employment, fair and fine. But in terms of issues, they health, to me, it's a problem. You must cause a lot of those problems. And at the moment, izibi zonke eziphuma endlini siyethare ngezika council. So singakuthola thina usubamba ibhimu ka council. Usubamba izinto ezingasuo zakho. Angikhuluma ama speakers la. Usubamba izinto ezingasuo zakho. Yikho bese ubona bebaleka besiyangena egangeni. But anyway, I council is trying, uCouncil khona la. They are trying to regularize that ukuthi at least kube le ndlela. We change those laws ukuthi ubona abantu abangancedwa njani. But for now, the situation is very bad. Okunye sibili ama-dumping akhona. It's not really urban. And unfortunately, when I get to the bush myself, ngithola ngezika mama Mancube ngihamba ngebuku Mancube. But eqinisweni kuyabe kuyi-waste pick efika yathatha yafaka egangeni. You see, there are a lot of conflicts that are happening around us. Ngiyabonga mama.
We totally understand, Mr. Spindi. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Councillor Mabeza will have an opportunity after tea to give a presentation. We can continue the plenary and comments thereafter.